So now we're entering turn 3, and I was mistaken about something, which is I have no real reinforcements coming in. It's all just artillery, siege artillery, to allow me to bombard the walls. A couple 12-pound guns. Ammo, which is recorded here. I'm not really close enough, although I do have a gun gallery, so I could deploy some guns. Well, if I repair it, I could deploy some guns. I'm not going to be able to repair all my damage unless I divert more forces to here. And then when we get over here, I failed so completely. I'm not wiped out like I was last time, but last time it was on a knife's edge. It could have gotten to the point where I got I invested the territory, and maybe more valuable, I could have gotten to a point where I had entrenchments or whatever here so that I could send things. The only thing I gained was I built a bridge, so that gives me this unit that I can send forward. Not a great unit, but whatever. I got an additional cav I could bring onto the board or bring onto the field. We can see if that helps. We're pretty impressed with how the cav charges work. The problem is there's no safe place to be. In this space, I don't want to build this fortress or this redoubt, because it takes, a turn sitting there, post movement, whatever, to get it built. I don't know how much help it gives me anyway. And it's not a safe place. I would still be getting a 1 in 6 chance of losing a step every round that I spend out there. These guys are all safe, so that's kind of cool. Given how little impact I had, the Prussians have another step back, and they feel about where they were. For the French, I repaired one of the units up here in the front with the hope of a little bit more staying power, maybe. Other options would be to put a unit that, on the board, replenish one of these things at 1 step or something along those lines, but I don't know. I honestly don't know if I have a chance of taking things on. Now, I have my damaged units. Yeah. So I do get something back. So I'm not in quite as bad a position as I thought I was. All right. And I guess we'll start moving things forward. How the French units failed to have any morale. Took some hits, but they broke. And these aren't bad units. I mean, an 8 morale and a 9 morale, and I think, no, 2 8 morales. And, there goes the attack all at once. I mean, maybe. I gotta keep trying, but now it becomes this, try to limit more units in and cross across. Here, this was the fresh unit, I think, and and boom, it survived, but it's in a horrible location and doesn't have a high fire value. Has a lot of steps. Oh, I didn't notice. Maybe I want to attack in that case. Okay, so what does the stream do to me? Yeah, no, I have no combat value. So here's the thing. Same problem with the melee and the fire value. I have no combat value going into this space, according to them, because I have a 2 point per step melee value, and I got -1 for the woods, -1 for the stream, and that means that I have a 0. If I give it a 1 per, then I'd be 3 steps, and I'd get a 3 to 2 attack, which still ain't so hot. All right, let me see if there's any minimums. Any evidence for minimums on the melee combat, and I actually found. Now I gotta find where. Firepower can be modified by other factors, blah, blah, blah. In some cases, it can even be reduced to 0 and then the unit can't fire. So I'm doing it right for the forts. And basically, yeah, if the fire goes down to 0, there shouldn't be a shot. So I've been doing it wrong throughout the series. I managed to find that piece of rule. I don't know why I have so much trouble with these rules. The glare coming off of them, off the glossy paper and the color, certainly doesn't help, but I'm seeing that right now as being a problem. Now, there's this interesting note here, and we kind of don't know what to take with notes, but the further an artillery fires, the less efficient its fire attack is, unless several artilleries fire together. We do not have the reduction value here, and I don't understand why multiple artilleries would prevent range reduction from taking place, but that's what this kind of seems to apply. It's not, I'm pretty sure it's not the intention. Somewhere or another, though, it's got to talk about artillery fire being reduced by range. It's not in the fire combat section, but maybe it's in the artillery section. Maybe. If it's not there, don't know where I'm going to find it. Okay. Range is dependent on fire value. It decreases the distance, subtract the number of hexes with a final minimum of 1. This is the one place where I found a minimum. Now they give an exception. 2 batteries with 1 loss each combine their fire at long range. According to the rule, they have a final fire value of 1 plus 1 equals 2. In this case, the final fire value is 1 to avoid 2 half batteries firing better than 1 full battery. And this may be the special case here. I don't know what the hell it is. It doesn't sound like it is. No, that's just a special exception because of the rounding. But then it sounds like terrain is going to get rid of. So if you're at far range and you're firing artillery and there's any terrain effect to reduce, then you're at 0, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, this would have a strength of 0 going in there, not of 3. So yeah. Ideas of trying to press these disorganized units and fire on them. I disintegrated this thing. Now there's nothing in the line. The only thing I have available is if these infantry make it up. There is still a fresh Prussian unit that got recovered. I think I've just taken too many losses to ever lay siege to this city now. I mean, I don't know. What's coming up here? I'm getting 2 more units. Like, can I hold off? Is really the question. Or do I take another shot with these guys? I got 2 steps on each of these units. And remember, they can lose a step trying to approach. You know, doing the dance to prepare. And then after they do that, they get to advance, and there's a good chance that they will lose a step at that point because they'll not just be taking fire from the artillery, but they'll be taking fire from these. I would like to establish myself over on the other side at the very least, so I think we start working towards that. The French have assembled themselves without taking any losses into a position for attack. The Prussians fall back a little bit. This is dangerous, right? I don't want to be easily attacked by this many forces. And now there's a cav up here too. And this was the thing that particularly scared me, because what it meant was I was sitting in position here, I believe, and it meant the cav could charge me. Now I can't. Now I've got to keep inching it forward and risking gunfire again, or find myself a breastwork to sit on. So the cav did something. This formation movement did something. Would I've maybe been better off not bringing the cav and scaring the Prussians? Who knows? It does put me in a position, though, where I am not in range to attack anything. Again, there's no forced march or, ability to push my units a little harder to get a charge out of them like there would be in something like the Labatt system. And it's particularly important here because there's this damn blockage here. Plus, I'm in immune territory here. There's not immune territory between me and wherever the Prussians are going to be for quite some time. So I'm going to be standing up to some fire. And the closer and closer I get to the city walls, the harsher that fire will get. I think it's time for a little break. The guns have deployed over here. I got to look at that mortar. Remember, the mortar's one real objective is every time it fires, range kind of doesn't matter, but it means one thing. Every time it fires, it has basically a 1 in 6 chance of reducing the morale of the Prussian fort, and that's pretty cool. But I think I have to get it in. Oops. The problem with these damn things. I do not like them for this. I think I have to get it into the gun gallery, or a gun gallery, which might be a reason to put a gun gallery back, somewhere kind of further from the situation in order for it to fire. And yeah, when we're talking about these 12-pounders on the wall, they have a base fire capability of only 6. And that's where the problem is. Because only 6 gets me down to like a 1 if I'm within the 750 range, which is probably about as... I'm at about 500 there. I think I was firing at that range, so I don't know. It was probably pretty close. It was probably an edge case, and I didn't want to give it. But yeah, I mean, even a 1 or a 2, the most I can do is a point of damage. That's not going to affect the walls. If you recall from the damage effects, for solid wall to do damage, I have to get at least a 2 result, which means I have to basically be rolling up on that 6 table for that to happen. Right? Yeah. And that's going to be pretty fucking hard. While pondering the map, I noticed something interesting. This location, I probably should have built up. I see a value to it. I didn't want to do it because everything that I build means means I'm pretty much sitting under the threat of fire from the forts. And, this would have taken, I guess, 1 shot on the 2 table, and then it would be immune. But that would have been a nice place to put some batteries and, maybe get me as far as here. And then things start changing, I established these before, but I didn't get to keep them. The Prussians were able to drive. I made the mistake of pushing the attack probably a little too far, and I lost some of the defensive location. And it's been, it seemed easy enough to get to here. I didn't realize it was going to be this much harder to do it the next time. One of the big reasons that's that much harder is that the cav is available. for the Russians. And I got a Prussian cav here that I haven't even sent in. So the French make their way through another turn, pushing forward. It's important the Prussians don't just keep backing up, because if the French can get these, start building them, then they've established themselves again in a stronger position. It's a big deal that they didn't have these. Whether or not I can take it this turn, you know, I mean, I could end up with the horrible events of the first turn, where I take a crapshoot chance to try to basically get this last star, when what I really should have done was fallen back on my breastworks and just said, that's good enough at some point. We'll wait another turn. Especially when it was clear that, you know, I probably wouldn't get the investiture because I'd have to leave a unit back here and whatnot. But, you know, if we start getting successful looking situations, maybe we'll keep pressing, but not to the point that we did before. And that's something important to look at, because I got to realize each of these is only 2 steps. I'm also sending artillery to try to get that into an emplacement somewhere. I might lose it on the way in. That would suck, but this is what the artillery is most important for, is on this map. It serves some value over here, but the field artillery is best over here. It's not going to do anything to the walls or anything. The only thing it does is provides me with some defensive cover in the entrenchments. And yeah, so I guess we get to engage pretty soon. 7 turns, things aren't looking too good. I still got 2 units, two infantry, but that's all I got left. This one has the capability, however, of building a barricade, which will help some. And the other one's got this troubling path forward. It can either go straight or spend an extra movement and avoid a shot here. I feel like if I can't do something with my cav, and my one cav that was in position disintegrated, the one I just brought over, I am simply not going to be able, you know, this can't hold here forever. You know, I haven't been getting many hits in, and I'm not costing the Prussians much at all. In column, I managed to destroy the unit there, which took away my 1 maybe melee, although I don't know how much value it is really worth. Yeah, infantry would be at -1, so they would only be a 1 there, whereas this thing is actually a 3. That's pretty damn good stuff. Wow, the Prussians may want to launch an attack instead. I can actually do that. So, but that would be at even. I'm better off with firepower because I have the added fire of the guns. So I only need to do 1 hit to each of these. The problem is these guys aren't able to get above a 0 against the breastworks. So that's kind of an issue right now. Anyway. Looks like the French get to push either an artillery or another cav into place. This cav scared away some of the flanking units. Of course, you know, I'm getting closer and closer to being in a really dangerous position. You know, if I go into here, I'm taking a 7 fire instead of the 3. So we can't go into the kill zones. 9, still nothing's really happened. These guns, though, are sneaking their way in. That will change some of the dynamics. If I can get them into the breastworks, I can start positioning them so that even if this fails, I've got capacity to keep the Prussians out of my way. And this is the kind of thing that I should have been doing initially. I had this line of guns with some kind of weird thought that, like, you know, the Russians might come charging out. Well, whatever was there might come charging out. But it's very clear to me that these need to be deployed out here. And again, these kind of things that I'm learning about how to, mechanically operate this so that the siege is done in the optimal fashion. These are things I'm learning throughout the game. Now, I don't mind that too much. I think I'm in a position where the French can't possibly win the whole game, though, because of those early mistakes that I made, just thinking what I could do with the massive force. And I almost did. And maybe if I had done some melees with some of those stronger units early on, maybe I could have taken this without having to worry about the artillery going in there. Or maybe if I had been just a little bit more cautious instead of more aggressive, I could have done better. In either case, whatever happened was horrible. Recently, the French are getting lucky and not getting hit, but likewise, they're getting unlucky and not being able to get any deaths on the Prussians either. So we're just having this standstill here. I took a cav this time as a loss, but again, that artillery's moving up. I've got another artillery ready to channel its way in too. So we'll see what that all works out like. This turn was kind of interesting. The loss of that unit meant that I could do a cav charge here, and that forced a square. So this guy stayed facing the square to hope to destroy it. The artillery hoping to knock this out. I lost the cav that was sitting here again. Not sure I want to bring another one over. They're very, very powerful, but I don't want them just kind of parked as a threat, because that's how they wither away. And as long as I've got this gun here, which is actually facing this way, I think, I've got some firepower on that. The problem is this hex is not a great hex to be in. It's not someplace I can live. The guns from the fort get a 1 on me anyway. And so it's got to be this hex that I build my more permanent positioning on. And there's also the danger. This cav is threatening everyone now. So unless I can cover it by moving my cav back or something, which I can fall back on. Otherwise, I'm going to have to pull my infantry back, and that opens things up to starting to entrench here, and then say maybe call it a day, because I need more troops. I got a few more coming, and well, actually, I have 2 more units plus some damage stuff coming back. So I'm going to get more back than the Prussians did, but I've lost more. Like when my units end up over there, that's a bigger loss than when Prussian units end up failing morale check. Not that they really can, because they're each 1-step units. It's really, really unlikely I'll get a morale check. That has to get me on the 4 fire table or higher, and it's still only a 1 in 6 chance. Turn 12, the French have established themselves. They got away from, well, withdrawal fire couldn't hurt them. Have established themselves in a location where they're going to be able to build up breastworks that they're safe in. I can pull my cav back. My artillery can work its way into a location where it can threaten everything. And we're going to take our time and just try to see what can happen, because if we can drive these guys back, good stuff happens, I guess. I don't know. We'll probably bring this cav around and threaten that and force him to either commit something to try to defend it, in which case, fine, A cav isn't going to be able to take it, but if I leave it alone, it will. And I don't want to commit this additional cav out there. And but otherwise, I think I just hold this position as best as I can, getting my artillery where I want it, and see what happens, because the Prussians, I mean, if I kill the Prussians somehow with my artillery, but they will probably flee from it, and I can't see marching onto there. This unit only has 1 step left, I can't chance losing it. But maybe the cav, I don't know. I don't really want to lose my cav either, so that's why it's backing away. 14, we're in a little bit of a conundrum here with the French. Artillery's not allowed into the woods. That's not good. I was hoping to kind of just make my way to the star, which means I have to run across open ground to get to either of these more protected locations and scare things off. I don't know if it's worth risking an artillery piece to do so. It may be, because again, if I can get to the star here, then I feel like I can kind of, well, I won't be able to get it this turn, but I could chase the Prussians off. Yeah, I think I will wait. I wish there was a way to like negate the gunfire for a while or something, just to, or you know, maybe get some guys to build earthworks out here to build entrenchments and stuff so that I can transit around there instead, because I think I can defend this fairly well, but I need something like the capacity to run through here. But I think I'm pretty much done. The Prussians have pulled a non-Russian unit out so that they can run over there, see if that scares the cav away or whatever. It should. Took the chance, and that's enough to scare the Prussians out. They got there successfully. The gun back here was plinking over here. Shot from here would be, this guy was just hitting on the 1 table, but 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd be looking at the 2 table. Obviously, I can't just sit around and let him have that, so the idea is let's just clear out quicker than before. I may have to keep these units across the Vistula over here simply because the ferry is I'm gonna have more units coming across the ferry, so it's gonna be kind of painful to deal with stuff. And I guess we're just about done. Got a couple more moves, but this is pretty much where we're at before we go to the digging. A few men. I'm building a gun gallery here for the mortar. I should have done that the last time. Really kicking myself, because if I had, I could deploy the mortar there. But the order is about the same, right? French siege churn, fire, then construction, repair, then movement in the network. So I put my mortar up there. There's a chance that it's not going to get a chance to fire this round, but there's a chance that it gets destroyed or damaged. Concentrated their fire against that mortar to knock it out of position. They did so, killed the unit that was with it, damaged the thing. They failed to get any other hits though. And so they're not in, they haven't done that much hurt to the French. Now, the thing is, damaged locations are kind of goofy because it costs just as much to rebuild, except for the gun gallery, as it does to build new stuff. You'll notice I built another sap heading forward, trying to make connected lines. I still don't see too much point to it, but the big thing was, I don't want to be out here losing more units. I've dug far enough and risked enough. I'm actually considering building something way out here to put mortars at, because I can't really take the attrition of these losses. These are the units I've lost on that map so far because of all the losses I've taken here. The French have established themselves. The Prussians have decided they give up the ghost. They're gonna just hope for a couple of successful shots on whatever approach is there. Right now, I've got a couple of units heading in that general direction. I don't know basically what I establish over here. I want to be what stays there. right? Long enough to defend what I've got right now. You know, enough to defend the star is essentially the issue. And I think what that is one more unit. I've also abandoned Scotland because you know, I mean, I could force the French to deploy differently or whatever, but basically what it comes down to at this point is the French deploy whatever they want to hold their stars. Next turn they get no more troops. The next time I get any additional troops is here, and that's Lands Corps or whatever, division or something. No. And there's some grenadiers in there, which I can't use for siege matters. Things look really, really grim for the French. I've taken so many losses that, you know, I've got to leave some defenses around. Cav might be able to do some of that. Artillery might be able to do some of that. But something's got to garrison this, probably. Or else, well, see, here's the thing. If I don't, what happens? Well, the French can pull things out of here and run down and deal with it. The only place that's really, really has to be defended is this area here. As long as I've got the area across the Vistula defended, that icky marsh shit to walk through where there's firepower going through it, I can reach all the other stars in the game without risk, basically. So I probably don't have to waste units garrisoning this because, say, you know, if the Prussians make a move to go take that, well, then we release a bunch of troops and scare them away. And that's essentially what's happening here is the Prussians are like, well, there's no way I can hold these things. The only question is how much the French want to put over here and what they want to do about it. And so, yeah, I'll give reports if needed. At the end of 9 of these operational rounds, whatever, I've taken that last star. I want to leave the unit there because, first of all, he doesn't want to walk home. I mean, I brought a big unit there for a reason, actually. That's going to help me slow this down when it comes in. It also prevents the Prussians from running out and doing something in between. It's a little painful to have such a big unit committed to this, but it took 3 shots, I think. 1, 2, 3 or 4 shots coming in, all just 1 in 6 chances. But my other choice of a unit, I mean, I could have chosen any of the units that ended up back here. But my other choice of a unit that I was thinking about sending that way had only 2 steps. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to chance that, just like I don't want to chance this 2-step unit. That means we have invested Danzig. I don't know when morale adjustments happen now. Okay. So, each turn after complete investment, there goes the Prussian morale. I think I better look. And then I have to roll for, what is it? Desertions. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, let me make sure this is the first turn that it actually happens on, because the way that says is after complete investment, which sounds like a complete turn. When investment is complete, roll for Prussian desertion. The result is the number of Prussian infantry steps. Okay, these will not be replaceable. This is painful. I don't know quite what to do with this because, you know, if I lose one of these steps is available for replacement. On the other hand, there aren't enough turns that I need to worry about this, so I can just bag as long as I'm putting shitty units in the thing. When investment is complete, you roll for desertion. Here it says each turn after complete investment, but it doesn't really define that. I'm going to say that there's a cost to that. And now I roll over here, and there are no modifiers. It's either 1 or 2. I lose 2. Okay. Well, I don't want to lose one of my 2-point... Oh, I don't have any 2-step units left. I'm going to take 2 of these 6 morale units and kill them. But it's not fair that I kill both of them, like remove them from play, because half of one of these still exists. So for bookkeeping purposes, I'm just going to remove 1 unit. Now, I'm not going to be able to do that if I lose 1 step and I have 1-step unit there that gets killed. I'm also not going to be able to do that if I lose a step that off a unit and just flip the unit. So I'm going to just hope it comes out in the wash. The reality is I'm hopefully not going to be removing any high morale units, but I'm running out of lower morale units. I'm down to 7s now, and that's somewhat problematic, not too bad. What I don't want to do is I don't want to lose my couple of 8s. I don't have that many of them. I cheated. Okay, so I only got to spend 9 of my points, I think. I'm checking to make sure I don't have another artillery out there. Yeah. I thought I could spend 10. I've got gun galleries built all over instead of normal parallels. Mainly because I knew I was going to be short on points. But, yeah. And now... we already did our fire, right? French fire comes before construction and repair, which means I can deploy the mortar. Those 12-pounders, if I put it here at this gun gallery, I got to measure, but let's say it's 500 meters, which is the closest it could possibly be. 500 meters... is a -2. -2 for complete wall is -4. -4 to a 12-pounder. 12-pounder has 6 firepower, would be a 2. A 2 is going to give me, at best, a 1-pointer. Which is not close enough. I need to basically get on the 5 or 6 table to have any chance. Oh, these are die roll modifiers. That's worse. I was counting them as shifts. So I think it's got to be the 6 table. So 6 table would mean that I basically have to be within 100 meters. Now, I can shoot cannon, and if I get enough successful shots on cannon, though, that reduces the situation, the threat that I'm in. Do I want to deploy? I'm going to deploy my mortar up here. Do I want to deploy my artillery, the big siege guns, up in that front position? Next turn, I get a 24-pounder, which is the stuff that can actually hurt the wall. Now, how many... It doesn't really matter how many guns I put in a place, because I can fire each gun as many times as I like. So 1 gun is fine. I can't put it with the... with the mortar, but that's okay. I think it's worth it just to try to pick off some of these artillery. Now, if I hit one, it gets damaged, it gets flung back, if I recall correctly, and then has to be repaired. But if I hit enough of them, if they're all needing to be repaired, that's going to be problematic, isn't it? Because I can only place one per turn. So if I shoot a lot of them, it kind of doesn't matter. It's for the good for me. However, I only have, wow, there's no 24-pound artillery ammo there. I think that's wrong. Otherwise, what the hell do I have the 24-pounders for? Let's find the reinforcements here. So turn 5 is next turn. Turn 3, we got 70 12-pounders. Turn 5, we get 100 12-pound ammo and 50 24-pound ammo, which has nothing to do with what's on here. Jesus. Okay. I'm going to have to go with this because otherwise, why do you have a 24-pounder there? But yeah, if I can get, what did I say the range was? It's maybe 500 from here. Okay, I have to look up how those guns are replaced. Repair as many batteries, subtract 1 from each siege pool for each damaged battery that's repaired. Yeah, damaged batteries are simply flipped back and redeployed to the walls. Well, if they redeploy freely, then the only thing I'd be doing is firing, and I think we were saying that's on like the 2 firepower. So I'd basically be firing to just try to drain this number. Of course, they wouldn't get to shoot back that turn, and that's a big deal. So I'd have covering fire for that turn. Let's see. I don't remember how these work. Yeah, I know. I read it all to you, and now French siege batteries. If they're disorganized and moved to the concentration, they'll be excluded from firing the next turn. Yeah. But what about damage to these things? To the Prussian ones. Prussian siege batteries. When the counters have only one step, when they take a step loss or fail a morale check, they're flipped to their damage side. When they're damaged, they can be repaired. One battery can be relocated. Damaged batteries cannot be repaired in Kalki. They can freely rotate and can perform opportunity fire. They never leave the first or second wall. They never go into the reserve or take part in a sortie. Yeah, so I think they just stay where they are, damaged, and you have the right to move them. So the reason to put the gun up there is on a 5 or a 6, next turn, I could prevent, well, there's no harm to me deploying the gun. Let's put it that way. There is no harm at all, because if I don't deploy it, it can't fire anyway. Yeah. Russians had a lot of misses early on, but then their last couple of shots, well, their second and third to the last shots blew these 2 saps open. I tried the gun gallery with the final shot, that missed. So that's 2 more casualties for the French, because anytime I hit at a part of the trench that's being built, it is destroyed. Now, I can't sortie against saps. I could sortie against the gun gallery. That's a long way to go. And if I went, I would be going against this and that, and I just don't think it's worth it to sortie at this range. Let me make absolutely sure, but I think I get fired on. Yeah, I get like fired on for each distance, but only by artillery. Let's take a look at how sortie works. And I know I've gone through the rules. I shouldn't have to do this again, certainly in front of you. But, you know, it's part of the experience, man. So we put first two units facing field fortifications. Yeah, I don't have that many units. Each unlimbered field battery can fire. Each battery can fire once at the sortie, calculate the range first, then subtract 3 from each die roll as the sorties are at night. But they'll be firing at the point of the sortie because they'll be adjacent to the field fortifications. But then the French are allowed to throw more units. The truth of the matter is, I just don't have the strength to risk at this point. I think it's really hard to tell because if I can kill more French units, that's great. Is taking out that siege gun that important? This is the big question. That siege gun, and you know, the mortar, I guess, but that siege gun can blow away my capability to defend the walls. It essentially has unlimited firepower, i.e. 70 shots, to pick off as many guns as I want to. And that'll give me free builds up for next turn. That's scary. Let me consider this a little more. French are allowed to deploy units from anywhere in the field fortifications, which means I can come from back here, but I could also pull units that are connected to them, which is one reason to have the parallel saps, I guess. I don't know, because going through damaged spaces is allowable. So I could essentially have what? How many? As long as there's a total of 2 steps can be deployed to deform each targeted field fortifications. Yeah, so I would have basically 2 steps of units here. I could attack it with 2 steps of units. So if I look at the forces, I've got some grenadiers there, which will have a 3 combat value. So the maximum I've got is a 5 combat value going in. No, sorry. The maximum I have, yeah, is right. The 2.1 is interesting because I get +1 for a column bonus, attacking in column, and -2 for a fully protected thing. So I would have actually a 2 and a 1 for a total of 3 points. And the French, well, they already have a guy there, so I could peek and see how good he is. He's just a 2. Do they have anything bigger than a 2 available? No. So I'd be facing 4. I would be at bad odds. There's a fair chance I might end up hurt by that. If I'm attacking at 2 to 3, disorder is no big deal. I'm not going to be able to knock the guns out. That's almost assured, because we do the melee. If the French lose the melee, then the fortification's damaged or destroyed. The guns are thrown back, which is what I want. If the French don't retreat, then the Prussian retreats safely. Unless I get a demoralized result against the French, I'm not going to chase them out of there. And the only chance of that is on a 5 or a 6 with a failed morale check. So I think I'm going to withhold firing, but this could mean that this means that the French basically have unlimited ammo, and can shoot the shit out of the guns on the wall. Definitely don't want to be putting units on the wall in that case. French are getting fucking close. So I got to start looking at the assault rolls for the wall. You know, I remember I went through all this shit, but it's all applying new rules that, while I looked at them, they didn't actually have an effect. So how do we get to the wall? Well, the wall, and I remember there's weird shit on this. Okay, so the fortification level is 20 right now. If the fortification is 16 to 20, no movement is possible, and no assault can occur. So we got to get those big guns up there before I'm assaulted. So I'm safe. I don't need to put people there because the big cannons won't be firing next turn. The 12-pounders might, but all they're going to do is give me covering fire for whatever I build. Good enough. But we're getting close. We're getting close to the point where, you know, the walls might get breached, whatever. That doesn't end the game, though. Not by a long shot. In fact, time is what ends the game. But there's tasks that have to be done. So knocking a position down to 0, if I capture it, it'll do that. That's worth 2. French infantry unit making the second line of defense at any point. That's worth another 2. But for the most part, and this is very different from both Lille and Sevastopol, those games you want to break in. Once you've broken the wall down, you have a success. Here, that's not the factor. And I'm not sure why that is. But if you look, there's a river going through. What looks like other bastions in place. It doesn't look like the main heart of Danzig just falls if you break through these walls. And that may be what's being represented here, as opposed to in those other games where, well, Lille has a citadel you have to fight your way through to. But if I recall correctly, busting through into Sevastopol was sufficient. Anyway, clearly taking out more of the guns makes life easier on me. All right, we did enough rules checking and whatnot that I am going to call this time to load another video up. But I do have to take my replacement points.